The Joint Review Committee was formed through an intergovernmental agreement between the Arizona State Board of Regents and the City of Tempe in 2004 to address projects on ASU land that have a commercial content and abut city property or rights of way. This evening we will have only one item on our agenda, but we have some other business to address first. First on our agenda this evening is consideration of meeting minutes. First off is the Joint Review Committee study session of November 7th, 2018. Do I hear a motion for approval?
I'll make that motion.
Motion has been made by Lisa Roach. Did I hear a second from Ken? Second from Ken. Is there any comments about the minutes? Any revisions that are suggested? If not, would you signify approval? Can we use these buttons, or do you want us to vote? We'll do a manual vote. Signify your approval by raising your right hand. If you oppose, same sign. And the minutes are approved for November 7th, 2018. And next we have the regular meeting of November 7th, 2018. Do I hear a motion for approval of those minutes? And Rudy moves for approval. Is there a second? Seconded by Kim Jerrier. And any comments, discussion, or edits? If so, if you approve these minutes, please indicate by raising your right hand. If you oppose, same sign, and the minutes are unanimously approved. The next set of minutes is for the Joint Review Committee study session of January 9th, 2019. Is there a motion for approval? Moved by Ross Robb. Is there a second? By Ken. Any comments, additions, edits suggested by a member of the committee? If not, if you approve, please indicate by raising your right hand. All those opposed? And the minutes for January 9th regular meeting are unanimously approved. We will now move into our regular agenda, which this evening is a request of a development plan of review for a new 16-story hotel containing 331 keys or rooms for the Omni Tempe Hotel at ASU, located at 7 East University Drive. That, for those of you at home, is the southeast corner of Mill Avenue and University Drive. We will have a presentation by the applicant this evening, and that presentation will be made, I believe, by Manjula Vaz of Gamage and Burnham. Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening. My name is Manjula Vaz. Sorry, it's a law firm of Gamage and Burnham. I am here on behalf of Omni Tempe Hotel at ASU. I'm going to start PowerPoint, and I'm here with Bill Cox, who is right there, if you remember from our study session. What I will do is, thanks, go through very briefly the zoning context. I think we've all gone through it quite often, but I'm going to go through it very briefly. Bill's going to show you kind of the hotel design. We've updated some design and renderings since our last time. We've worked with the staff in terms of some activation. I think we just met with the staff, and we still have some other things we're going to do, but I think we all feel good about where we're going. But we want to talk to you a little bit about where we're going and the activation, some, how the hotel design is shaping up. And then, Madam Chair, with your permission, we're going to have Don Cartier talk a little bit about parking and traffic. I know that some people have just some thoughts, so since there's a public meeting, we want to talk a little bit about, a little traffic and parking, and then we're happy to answer any questions, if that works. So, as we all know, this is on the University and Mill, and I think we're certainly familiar with the context. Chili's is still sitting there and is still up. Mirabella is fast going up just to its east. That's the surrounding building height map. Just in terms of the zoning, the site is currently zoned MUED, which is mixed-use education, since it is ASU property. And the MUED does allow a hotel, as you know, and we are here for the design approval of the hotel tonight. The hotel is going to be 331 guest rooms. It's going to be, has 22,000 square foot of conference space, 15,000 square foot ballroom, 6,800 square foot of restaurant, some hotel administrative offices. We're really excited about the street level dining and patio seating, both along University Drive, which Bill will show you, and Main Street. So that's the Main Street between Mirabella and Omni. And so we're creating kind of a new Main Street within there that we think will activate both from the Mirabella side and from the Omni side. We have a lot of amenities. We're going to have a pool terrace and a rooftop bar, which we're really looking forward to. And I know that we were all looking forward to having a nice rooftop bar in the downtown that will look north and look at the mountains and look at the town lake. And I'm now going to turn it over to Bill to kind of talk through the landscape plan. I think you want to start. Oh, Joel, do you want to talk about landscape? Wherever you went. Where'd you go? Oh, sorry. Joel's going to talk about landscaping first. Sorry, and because I think Joel was having a baby when we had our study session, or his wife was. So Joel's going to talk a little bit about landscaping, and then not me, yeah. But he's going to talk about landscaping, and then Bill will take it over and talk a little bit about design.
Thank you.
And I'll just start by saying, as you know, my name is William Cox. Did you say address?
For the record, just your address.
Oh, I'm an architect with CTC Design Studio, 3300 Northeast Expressway, Atlanta, Georgia, 30341. So, thank you for your time. So, we've worked together on this, but Joel is the expert on the landscape. So, if you can just kind of talk about this plan, and then I'll take over once you're done. Thank you, Bill.
All right, Joel Thomas, Norris Design here in Phoenix, and address is 901 East Madison Street. So, sorry I couldn't be here for the last meeting. My wife was having a baby, so we'll review some of these items today.
All is well, I trust.
All is well, yeah?
Not sleeping at night.
You're exactly right. You're exactly right. So what we have here is we have a landscape plan that tries to tie together the city of Tempe, what we have going on in Mill, and what we have going on in other developments in Tempe, and ASU. And we want to do that in a thoughtful way. So in doing that, we're utilizing a regionally native plant material. We're focusing on shade. We're focusing on safe plants, which is septed, as you all know, and doing it in a way that encourages circulation and good activity there on the corner. This is kind of the gateway to the ASU campus. It's also the gateway to Mill in some ways, the entertainment area. And so with that, you can see along Mill and University, we have tree-lined streets. University, we're trying to tie to the building that is going on right now to the east. We're also trying to look at what's going on across the street Mill and using about the same tree variety as that as well. So it ties together well.
Can you share what that tree variety is, please?
Oak
Okay.
is what it is. And that's what's across the street. So the other tree variety we're using is Palo Verde, which is a regionally native tree. We want to give something that produces shade, is quick growing, doesn't damage sidewalks, and ties together with ASU with that. So it kind of has one tree variety for each street there. Along the entrance, lower plant material to really encourage septed. Beautiful hardscape to kind of tie together what's going on along Mill Avenue, but also entices people to come into the front lobby doors. Also hardscape treatment to encourage activity to go into the restaurant, which anybody can do. Along the back area there, the Sun Devil Lawn is what it's called. We have some palm trees to kind of encourage a little bit of scale, what's going on with the tall buildings around it, and bring that scale down to kind of a pedestrian event lawn terrace there. Then, as you know, there's the dining patio right there on the corner. With those two items, the restaurant and the dining patio, we're trying to buffer the bus stop as much as we can. And that is one thing that is difficult to do, yet we've maintained City of Tempe standards to have that bus stop there and function still. So that's a kind of a brief overview of the landscape plan as it is right now.
Okay.
Bill?
All right. All right, so I'm just going to take a brief moment and walk you through the floor plan again. I know we're all familiar with this, and we saw it last time when we were here in January, but there are some important things to note. Where it says retail, that's an activated lobby, so there's going to be a food and beverage offering in this area. There's seating inside and outside, and you're going to see this in some updated renderings that we have brought this time. It flows together with the hotel lobby, so there will be a typical hotel front desk lobby check-in feature, but really this whole area is meant to be a kind of a destination and a center of the hotel in terms of its activity and social space, and really a destination for people both within the hotel and people for the city to gather in. It's also adjacent to the restaurant, as you can see. As Joel mentioned, the restaurant is accessible from the outside, so you'll be able to come into that facility from University Avenue or University Drive. It is going to be a high-end restaurant, which we're very excited about, and it also has an outdoor dining area, which is planned north, as you can see. There is some event meeting space, which is addressing the Mirabella side of the project. And that is opening directly up to the outdoor event lawn and the Sun Devil lawn, as was just mentioned. I also want to mention that, as you know, our main hotel and motor lobby entry is off of Mill, where it says entry drop-off, but it has been designed in a manner so that it handles a lot of traffic. We'll be able to stack cars there, a lot of cars. It is also a place where will be manned 24 hours a day with hotel staff to be able to direct traffic in and traffic out. And we also have a secondary drop-off along Main Street, which is represented planned north, which will help alleviate in extremely busy times what's happening on the Mill entry, as well as forming a second drop-off for things that are going to be happening in the event meeting space. Going to the second floor, we have our ballroom, which is a 10,000 square foot ballroom. 15,000 square foot ballroom. We also have the meeting rooms along University. There's pre-function. This whole floor is really devoted towards the meeting facility of the hotel, and it is designed to have dinner functions for 1,000 people. We also have a boardroom that's down in the lower right-hand corner of the sheet, as you can see. And as we mentioned last time, that's going to be a kind of a higher-end meeting room that'll have specialized services with AV and stuff like that, plus nice windows that look out over the city. There are also some support spaces on this floor. We have banquet kitchens and some employee cafeterias and things like that. Moving up, on the third floor, you can see that we have the beginnings of the guest room tower on this floor. I showed you this last time. We also have the fitness center on this floor, but what we're really excited about here in terms of hotel offerings is the pool deck. So there's going to be a swimming pool up there and a lot of deck space so that we'll have a pool bar. There's be a major recreation area for the hotel. It is for hotel guests, this area. But we feel like this is going to be a very important amenity for the hotel. We have this time showing you a typical floor plan of the tower. So there's 12 of these floors. We have 331 guest rooms, as was mentioned earlier in this presentation. It will be a mixture of different room types. We have some big suites that'll have dedicated bedrooms and living rooms and things like that. Some smaller suites, and then typical guest rooms, which will be a mixture of single bedrooms and double bed, or king rooms and double queen rooms, as we would say. So that's happening in the tower portion. And then on the right-hand side of this page, you can see our rooftop bar plan. So there we have both indoor and outdoor space, and we talked about this last time. We're very excited about this area because we feel like this is going to be a huge destination for the city of Tempe. and people wanting to come in and utilize this hotel and, for food and beverage offerings. So the next image I'm going to show are some updated renderings. So this is really kind of like everyone's initial shot of the hotel as you approach from the airport. You can see down on the bottom how the lobby space where it says the Omni Hotel, it's a little hard to see, and you'll see a blow up detail in a minute. But you can see this corner because we've really tried to activate this corner. This is really the center of the hotel. It's kind of the heart of what's happening, and we really want that to be inviting and speak as a major architectural statement as far as the hotel. In terms of materiality, what we are using is a mixture of glass, metal panels, and some brick, and it's articulated in a way to kind of break up the massing of the building and also be respectful of the environment of Tempe. But the building is also designed in a way to really reinforce its urban nature. So it defines the street. It's right there at the corner of Mill University, and it will become a very urban, building. But at the same time, it's very open and very inviting, and very much of a destination draw for the people around. You can see just moving down University, this is another view looking back, so you can kind of see how the tower looks. But what's really interesting about this image is the rooftop bar, because you can really start to see what's happening at the top where the Omni sign is. That is, I think I mentioned this last time, but that sign is in front of glass, so you'll be able to look through it. It's also over your head. That's a very tall ceiling up there. But that's the indoor part of the bar, and then everything to the left of that where you see sort of the trellis feature is all outdoor space. And that's some shading for, to protect people during the day, but at night it also allows us to do some interesting lighting effects. This is a new image for you guys. So this is really a detail of how the pedestrians will interact with the front of the hotel. So you can see through, you can start to see some imagery inside. There's a grand stair in there. There's a whole like lobby food and beverage offering just right inside this glass. We have some table seating that's going to be outside. So this is our front door. This is where we want people to be, and this is really what's starting to say this hotel. Pardon me. This hotel is very inviting and welcoming, and creating an amazing experience for the people that use it. We're very excited about this. Moving on down, you can see this is our motor lobby entry, but the windows in the background are the hotel lobby living room area that I just described, and that area connects directly to what I just showed you. So all that kind of works together. You can see that the motor lobby is very large. We're able to stack probably about 25 cars in there at any one given time. It's not a parking lot, so the cars will never be there very long. Omni operates a valet system, so once people leave their cars, the cars will be removed and parked on the deck. But what we wanted to show you here is you can see people walking up and down, the landscaping that Joel mentioned a minute ago. All of this is really starting to activate Mill in a way that we find to be very exciting. You can see in the windows on the second floor, that's the pre-function for the ballroom, so there's also visual connection between what's happening on the street and what's happening up in the meeting facility, and of course they will have the opportunity to look out and have nice views and things like that. There's some architectural articulation that's happening here with some nice lighting, and we feel like this, along with the image that I just showed you, is really going to start to become a very, very cool offering for the city of Tempe. And you saw these last time, but just for context, these are just some aerial images that we took just to show you how the building kind of sits in its massing. And as we mentioned before, the box that's to the right of the hotel is actually not part of our project, so that's just there just to show a future something that ASU will construct. And then where the parking lot is where the parking deck that ASU is going to construct is going to be built. And then looking back the other way, you can kind of see the mountains in the background and the hotel kind of in the middle of the picture and the city of Tempe in the foreground. So I think, where's Angela? I think that's the last slide, right?
That's the design.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
Thanks, Bill. So I'm going to have Dawn talk a little bit about parking and traffic, if that works for you, and then happy to open it up for questions.
Thank you.
Talk a little, just briefly about traffic study.
Dawn Cartier, CivTech, 10605 North Hayden Road, Suite 140, Scottsdale, Arizona. We prepared the traffic study for the Omni. It's a very interesting time because we've had to take a look at what's going to happen in the future with Mirabella in place and Omni in place, sharing a singular garage, along with the changes that are coming along Mill Avenue due to streetcar. And some of those are very beneficial as it relates to access at this block. The traffic study looks at a future condition where we project traffic from the hotel rooms, how much we think are coming and going. And in a city like Tempe, what we find is that traffic tends to be different than what we use when we project from national standards. And that's to a positive, because overall Tempe has a higher percentage of people riding the bus, walking, biking, using other modes, as well as providing a range of uses close to the facilities that we study, so that somebody staying at a hotel like the Omni doesn't have to get in a car to drive to a restaurant, they walk. So while our traffic study looks at cars using a national standard, and we do take a reduction of about 10% for these other walking and biking trips, what we tend to see in Tempe is something even greater than that. So we look at a more conservative scenario than what might actually be there in the future. My thought in talking about traffic, and I don't know if it's too early, but it might be easier to address questions that are related to concerns around the traffic, as opposed to trying to walk through what we have on paper. But if there are none, I can walk through the changes that we expect to be happening immediately around the site.
I'll refer to my colleagues. Does anyone on the committee have specific questions they'd like to ask at this time? Or would you prefer to hear the presentation? Okay, I guess we'll hear what you have to
You
say
got it.
first.
I'm just going to pull
Thank
up my
you.
little exhibit and walk through it. So there's some changes coming along Mill Avenue due to streetcar, especially adjacent to this site, south of University. The northbound lanes will be being restriped to provide 2 lanes of travel. Today there's only one. So you have one through lane, a left turn lane, and a right turn lane. So that will be changing, increasing the capacity of volume of traffic on Mill Avenue, hopefully addressing some of the concerns people have been having about streetcar operating in mixed traffic. Of particular note for us as it relates to our site is at 9th Street and Mill. So 9th Street and Mill is where we'll be introducing a traffic signal. That's a traffic signal that would be introduced because of light rail anyway, and provides a great deal of accessibility to the garage. This garage that's accessed, from Main, from 9th, from Myrtle. We've got a lot of perforations into how we can maneuver once we're in what I still consider to be blocks 22 and 27. We're going to have a lot of integration between there for vehicles to come out and circulate. So there was a lot of discussion early on about what happens at 9th Street and how that aligns. We're seeing that being a primary point of entry and egress, especially at times of the day where the street might be busier. The hotel is operating under a scenario where we call it no parking, but the reality of it is it's been planned with a combined parking with the Mirabella, and that parking structure will sit adjacent to the Omni, or I always kind of think of it adjacent in between. But because of that, the valet scenario will be really critical to how the hotel operates. So the valet entry comes in on the west side of Mill. We've got them moving in one direction only, northbound, heading in the southern entry, out the northern entry. But at that time, what we're anticipating is if you pull into the Porte Cochere, it's very likely, I would say on the 90 to 95% scale, you're handing your car off to a valet, or you're getting in an Uber, Lyft, taxi, and exiting out of the site. So the people who will be leaving this Porte Cochere will know exactly how they're driving to get into the parking garage. Anyone else who will be self-parking will park and walk in from the garage to the main entry. So we do anticipate that this porte cochere will have a lot of action. It's cars that would be on the street typically anyway, just self-parking as opposed to valeting and a one-way movement. So we call those pass-by traffic. Not that we're increasing, we're just moving it to a bit of a different location.
Or you call it what?
In a way, it's like pass-by traffic. It's traffic that would already be here on the street. We're just
Okay.
moving it into our porte cochere before we take it back out onto the major street system. A lot of the levels of service we reported in the study don't work great. And that is not atypical of everything along Mill Avenue in downtown Tempe, even as it relates to today. We have Mill working pretty well, but the streets that approach Mill on the sides tend to be the ones that have the delay, they have the wait. Happens today, it'll continue to happen in the future, although I'm optimistic that when we look at these studies, we are not accounting for enough people moving to different modes of travel. So today, a lot of people are in their cars. The way that we study traffic is people remain in their cars. I think there's a strategy in place by Tempe that as the density increases, transit levels will increase in hopes of moving people out of their cars and into transit. That really is the majority of the changes that we have external to the road system. And from there, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Look to my colleagues, are there any questions at this point regarding traffic and the study that was done? Yes, Lisa.
Where is the streetcar stop closest to the hotel?
I think it's at 9th Street.
Yeah, it's right, let's see. It looks like it's right at the intersection.
Yeah, it's on, well, we don't. Yeah, so the street, okay, so if I can make this work. The street, so 9th Street is a street that doesn't, it exists right here, right now. I mean, so at least it's.
Yeah, sorry.
Sorry, like right, it doesn't show up on your things. You may have to look at the screen, but it's basically right here. We're going to put a traffic light in the general, so we're going to put a new road in here. It's going to be an east-west connector, and the streetcar stop is approximately here, which is where this traffic light is. Is that right? Obi, am I telling? Yes.
I think it's between 9th and 9th.
Oh, 9th and Mill. Okay, so the streetcar stop may be approximately
right in there.
here,
Mhm.
Lisa. And then the street, there's going to be a new traffic light here, which is what Don is saying.
So before you reach 9th Street will be the streetcar stop.
Yeah, if you're coming
Southbound.
south. Yes, if you're coming southbound, yes.
Okay.
But what will help with kind of even all the circulation, and I had this conversation with other people, is now that you're going to have one, a light may help, but also this bisection of this street will help, Myrtle, which is right here, and then 10th Street right here, which tends to get clogged up as you kind of, as we talked about generally, kind of breaking in more east-west and north-south kind of circulation patterns. It'll help this because you'll have Main Street going through here too. That make sense?
And that kind of circulation is something that's critical in an urban area. And so adding that additional throughway is a great idea.
We're seeing a lot of benefit to the smaller block, but through street concept, especially as Tempe is redeveloping with the density. It's moving traffic along. This development will have access to the signal at Myrtle and University. The connectivity will provide a connection to the signal at 10th Street and Mill, and then we'll have the new signal at 9th Street and Mill.
That answer your question, Lisa?
It does, thank you.
Anyone else? Mr. Rob?
Hi, Dawn, how are you?
I'm good, thanks.
I've got quite a few questions about traffic and maybe a lesson on how far. Some of these questions might be a question of staff as they are for you guys. First question is about condition 8. It says that the developer is waiting for approval of a traffic impact study. Is there a sense that it's not going to be approved by staff?
No, Vice Chair. It is a standard condition we put on because it's not required that the final traffic approval be at the entitlement process, which is here. They can just, they have submitted the traffic study. And if there were any red flags, we would have known it ahead of time. So everything gets worked out. It's just a matter of having the final revised plans to the traffic guys so that they can approve it.
So there, this is on some kind of timing that the traffic study is going to be formally approved by the city.
That's correct.
Madam Chair, Vice Chair, the traffic study has been, we've talked to the traffic people, Don has, Julian and Shelley, and the traffic study has been accepted. So we know that they have accepted our traffic study, so we feel confident, as Mrs. Aparno is saying. We feel confident in the report. I think the official approval typically comes before building plans in their standard condition.
And the same line of questioning is, and I really kind of preface my next comment with, I've been in downtown Tempe a long time, and I should also preface it that this is a fantastic project with fantastic architecture. How's that? There you go. I'll start again then. This is a fantastic project. Great use, great looking building, great architecture. It's going to be great for the city. But, so, a lot of times when you ask a lot of critical questions about traffic and parking or whatever, there's kind of a sense that, oh, I don't like the project. I love the project. So you just stated that the traffic study is going to be approved by the city. Fantastic. But when I read at least the executive summary of the traffic study, it talks about a lot of condition E's, a level of service E, a lot of level of service F, which, at least as far as I know, it doesn't get any worse than F. Let's assume F is as bad as it gets. So, again, this is maybe more of a staff question, though I know Manjula and Dawn, you guys do a lot of work in Tempe. For lack of a better phrase, has the train left the station on traffic? Like, we just don't care about it anymore, and traffic studies are just go in the file, but E's and F's are just the way that it is nowadays?
Well, Sparta can answer. I'll answer that a little bit, Madam Chair, Vice Chair. I don't really care about traffic. Traffic studies, I think, do two things. But I think the traffic study shows that with or without this hotel, it's the level of service is F. So, and that is that may be, it's a function of lots of things, right? It's a function of the current street grid, which we're trying to help in terms of circulation, and that's also why we have public transportation and what light rail is about and what the streetcar is about. So the traffic study does talk about that. The other thing the traffic study talks about are things that Don just talked about in terms of not only streetcar, but when you put in new lanes, new turning lanes, and that will help alleviate, which is probably what Dawn is saying, like she's saying, we're optimistic. It's actually going to get better as we put more things and people to walk versus, right now, well, it's not anymore, but it used to be, there's obviously a Stapler's Market, then it was a parking lot, people could take their cars, and now it's going to be more activated, whether that just bringing people doesn't necessarily bring cars. So the traffic study talks a lot about here are the different circulation matters that can happen that will help. Well, there may be degrees of F. I think we do both of us do a lot of work in Tempe. There's probably all intersections in Tempe that are F, but there's degrees of F, and then you try to do things, whether it's right turn lanes or other things that help bring it closer to a D- than an F+, and that's what we're trying to do.
Does
I would add to
does
that.
staff have any comments to make regarding that response?
Madam Chair, just same as when our development comes, like this is existing condition, and our goal is with a development, how can we improve it with other means, such as a traffic light, such as connecting 9th Street the way we are. So those are some of the ways to improve it. So that's what we are looking for, because the traffic condition is still existing conditions. It's we can't, like you said, Vice Chair, it can't get
I
any
believe
worse
what was
than
said
that.
is with or without the Omni Hotel, that's the condition.
And so the Omni Hotel, when it comes in with the improvements they're proposing, hopefully that circulation, that's to make that better.
Right, and I do take a lot of comfort that if the developer is not raising this question, if they are comfortable building a hotel there, then I'm certainly not here to tell them that they shouldn't. It's just, I think just interesting, and then I'll move on, that, level of service E and level of service F is just kind of this is what it is, and that's fine. My other question is really more specifically about the project traffic. When I saw the landscape, this really has more to do with if I am driving, or if I'm an Uber or a Lyft driver who's coming to this project for the first time, or I'm coming to it for the first time. You know, hotels are quite different than when we were talking about Mirabella. If I'm a Mirabella resident, I go to my condo and I know how to get there, and you know, there's no mystery to how I find my way. A hotel, very transient in nature, Uber and Lyft drivers who maybe have never been here before. So my big question about this is really signage and how I approach that porte cochere. One of the images of the landscape plan, actually is what we're looking at right now. It looks like there's trees in front of the porte cochere, but when you showed the rendering of the porte cochere, it looked like there were just shrubs there. So I'm a little concerned that there would be big trees, and I guess I like the rendering more than I like the landscape plan.
Joel, is that something you would like to comment about?
Whether we have trees or shrubs.
Or maybe it's more of a signage response that we.
Yeah, I think, yeah, well,
So originally, to activate it and have the concerns you're talking about, we actually had those trees removed. But staff came back and wants to create shade and have that kind of element there, so we incorporate them back into the design.
So Vice Chair, there is a code requirement for certain amount of, based on the linear square footage, a street tree requirement that, and Tempe has a goal of sustainability and having a percentage of shade trees on our public streets. So they still have to meet it. For the purposes of placing them, it's going to be placed in a manner so that there's visibility through those driveways. So it's not going to obstruct, so that will be there. But
Okay, so let's talk about, I believe you, I believe that those policies actually exist. So let's talk about two different situations here. Number one, I'm driving northbound on Mill, kind of from Gamage towards the project. The first thing I'm going to see when I'm approaching the project is a parking garage on my right. Am I going to be able to go into that parking garage and self-park?
well, the first thing you're gonna hit is this, well, the first thing, actually, which doesn't exist right now, I didn't answer, Madam Chair, Vice Chair. I don't know, you may be able to self-park, but the first thing you're gonna get to a light right here.
Oh, no, I haven't even gotten to that point yet. I'm more like near Gamage. I'm heading towards
Okay,
the
but
project.
you're here and you're heading north. No, when I do it, you're
I feel like
right.
he's here. We're heading here.
I'm going to come to the parking garage.
Yes, you're gonna come to the parking garage.
Am I going to be able to
Can you self-park?
self-park in the parking garage?
Yes.
So I can,
Divert yourself.
all right, I could self, if I don't want to valet, I will be able to self-park in that parking garage. There'll be some kind of
Yes, you can divert
parking
yourself
ma-
right here.
parking management
Just
plan that I can put in my room key or whatever and get in there.
Yes, it is an ASU parking garage, there'll be a parking management plan, but it'll be an ASU parking garage, it'll have some public parking associated with it, so it'll be, whether you can put your room key in, it'll be like Fulton, right? Like, it will function the way an ASU parking garage functions nights and weekends, so that, like, the Fulton Center, the Fulton parking garage, not the Fulton Center, the parking garage at Fulton, next to Postino, you can go park there. As a
Okay, but
as a public
my
person.
question is, if I'm a guest and I'm staying there multiple nights and I have a car, which a lot of people
Yeah.
won't, but if I do have a car, or if Founder's Day is at this facility, 1,000 people, do I have to go into the porte cochere? Do I have to make a right on University? Do I have to go in through Myrtle? I think these are pretty important questions, especially for
That's
big.
probably those are all operational questions, but I can answer generally for you.
And if there were a Founder's Day event, that would be handled by city event staff and
Yeah, I mean, so there are
specific
operational.
parking operations
Yes.
would be addressed.
We are working with ASU, but let me just answer, Madam Chair, Vice Chair, the question. I mean, I think when you have, if you go to, let's take the Monte Lucia. When you go to the Monte Lucia and there's a big event, another Omni Hotel, there's several options. You can go to the main area, and especially when they have a big event, then you can go drop it off the porte cochere. There's self-parking. usually the bar is up, so they know there's a big event, everybody comes in, and they let the bar out, and you're not stacked up in parking. In this case, it's a similar site in that you'll have several different ways to get in the site, and, you know, you can self-park yourself, you can go to the porta cochere.
Yeah, Monte Lucia is not a very urban setting. It's
But
a
I
very
mean, but it's still a
different,
rectangular, it's a
right.
rectangle that
Okay.
you and I have both been to, so I figured we could at least talk about the parking garage.
Okay, so now I'm back to this. Okay, so now I've gone by the parking garage.
Okay.
I've decided not to self-park. Now I'm heading up, let's think 10 years after it's built. These are now big trees. How do I know, like, what is the signage going to look like so that I don't then miss, I've already missed the self-park. Now I'm about to miss the porta cochere.
So, while we don't really have a drawing of this, I will tell you there will be a monument sign, and it will say Omni Hotel at Tempe, whatever the name of it is, Omni Tempe Hotel at ASU, and it'll say enter right here. So, as you see that, you'll see it. You'll also see all the activity because there will be a driveway there, just like pulling into any driveway. You'll see the curb cut, you'll see the driveway, you'll see the cars coming through, and it will become very obvious as to where you go.
And we tried to change some of that. You can
Yeah.
see some of the pavement.
You see where the
change
out
art.
is right there? There's an end that's just like it is, just off. It was cut off for artistic reasons, but it would be on
But this
side of
is
it.
no longer what it looks like. Now there's trees.
So there's going to be trees, but and there is some artistic license there. Yes, we admit, but the canopy of the trees is high, so they're going to be above when they're mature where you're driving. So your driving perception will not unlike this.
And the monumentation will be at the ground.
Yeah, it'll be a low sign. It's probably about 3 feet tall. It'll be made out of nice materials. It'll
And
be
this
lit-
package did not include signage.
That's correct.
I would encourage the city to allow the parking to be pretty well marked, even if it is not as aesthetically pleasing as you all might want. I mean, I think the combination of, I think there's always give and takes with these kind of things. The combination of requiring big trees, and, I realize someday the canopy is going to be up there. But, as you know, people, especially for events, when they are approaching at a hotel, it may be the first time they have ever been to downtown Tempe. They're probably saying, I can't believe this thing's not at the Biltmore anymore. But that's a topic for another day. Okay, I'll keep moving here. What about employees? Where do they park? There's a lot of employees in this.
Talk about that. Brett wasn't going to talk, but Brett is now going to talk.
That's right.
Remember Brett Morelli from the Omni is going to talk.
Brett Cimarelli, Omni Hotels, 4001 Maple Avenue, Dallas, Texas, 75219. Just like in a lot of urban properties that we have, I think employee parking depends on the occupancy of the hotel. If we are low occupancy, obviously they can park in the garage spaces that we have allocated. On busy times, we are going to have to work with ASU and surrounding areas to figure out where that parking is. Obviously, guest retrieval of vehicles is of utmost importance to us, so that garage is going to be very critical for that to function. But again, most of our employees hopefully will be coming in via transit, that we encourage that. And then if they do travel, again, on slow days, low occupancy, under 50% typically allow parking in the garage. Again, anything more than that, sometimes we have to reorganize where that goes. So we'll work with ASU and the surrounding properties to figure that plan out as well. So,
Very good.
Thank you.
Okay, the only other question I've got is, this is more of a parking question. Condition 5 says, prior to a C of O, the developer shall provide or have access to a minimum of 275 vehicle parking spaces. Is there any kind of timing, understanding of what this parking garage is? How many spaces does it have? It has more than 275
Yes.
spaces. What the hotel's rights are? Is it a hunting license? Are there designated spaces? Because it says that the developer shall provide or have access to. I mean, I'm not a big fan of kind of subjective. Does anybody really know what that means? Having access to 270, does that mean 275 paces just exists,
So,
or
Vice
what does
Chair-
it mean?
Vice Chair, right after that stipulation, there's a second stipulation that says that it has to be an affidavit, it's a recorded affidavit to demonstrate that there are 275 spaces that would be recorded for reserved for the hotel parking.
And you're comfortable with that?
Yes, and I can't recall where it is, either a development agreement or another agreement they issue, but they are required to build the spaces for us prior to us opening the hotel.
And you have some understanding of
We do.
how
We
it's
believe
all
it's-
going to work?
Correct. We believe it's 200, I believe, again, I'll have the document from it. It's 275 spaces just for the hotel portion only.
That's correct. And Madam Chair, Vice Chair, to finish that, the parking garage is larger than 275, and I think it is in the development agreement. But there is a license between ASU and Omni in agreement.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the committee? Yes, Ken.
So is this project still going to be?
Are you guys going back to art? I don't, oh, this is, oh, you guys, so, Madam Chair, Commissioner, we had, this project has been to Ed, but this project I don't think is not going to ARC, because it's not Novus per se. So
Right.
Ed is, so on projects that are, this is actually not Novus at all, it's not per se. This is not Novus. So projects that are not, the Architectural Review Committee, for those of you who may not be familiar, is the internal ASU Design Review Committee. There, as I understand it, there are some portions of kind of within Novus that are going to ARC that are not part of specifically Novus, but that is determined by Ed. But Ed Sotero has reviewed all these plans, but this project specifically is not. I don't believe it's gone to ARC. Are you guys going to ARC?
Yeah, my understanding is we don't have to do a formal process, but it is required in a development agreement that ASU reviews our document. So we have submitted upon all the milestones, 100% schematic design, 100% DD, and I believe 100% CD. So approval through that process is my understanding of what we're going through.
So I'm aware of some concerns about the ballroom and the 1,000-person capacity of that. Is there some validation that, in fact, the ballroom is going to provide the space that was desired for the Founders Day event at its maximum occupancy?
Absolutely. We've communicated with Patrick Pineda with ASU, delivered him drawings that show the capacity at 1,000 seats, both with, I believe it's 10 top and 12 top tables. So we're in communication with him on that. So if there's any further concerns, we certainly we'll deal with that, but we've provided the documentation that shows that we can fit 1,000 people in this room.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. Anyone else on the committee have questions for the applicant, Omni Hotel?
Thank you.
Thank you, Manjula. Is staff prepared to give us a presentation? I should preface that by stating that the staff reviewed in great detail during our meeting in January this project and the specifics of this project. But for a quick refresher for those who might be watching from home and members of the committee, thank you.
Good evening, committee. Staff actually, the applicant provided a pretty good presentation there on what the design of the building is, the landscape, and the site plan that they have going there. So I don't really have much to add in regard to those items. But I do want to just on the record that we're recommending approval for this project. And also we'd like to put on the record that or we would like to request that there be a modification to condition number 9. The first sentence of this condition should read as follows. The developer/property owner shall construct a bus stop with a bus pullout lane with an ADA compliant clear landing area and city approved shelter and furnishings at no cost to the city prior to issuance of a certificate of occupancy. We provide a copy of that document to you earlier just so you can have it. If you'd like to read into record, or you can accept the condition I just put on record right now.
Okay, thank you.
And then also with that, I can answer any questions that you have about the project if you have any of staff in regards to it, but I think the applicant did go over pretty well. So.
Thank you, Abinia. Are there any questions from the committee for staff regarding this project or regarding the conditions of approval for number 9, which will need to be part of any motion for approval if there is such? Obenia, thank you very much. This is a public meeting. Is there anybody from the audience who wishes to address the committee? You would have a couple of minutes to address questions, concerns, points of view. Seeing none, we'll move forward with further discussion by the committee or a motion. Okay, I believe I just heard Rudy Belavia make a motion to approve. Is that correct, Mr. Belavia?
Yes, it
You're
is.
so quiet. Is your
Sorry.
microphone on? Okay.
Yes, it is.
I'll second.
Seconded by Ross Robb. Any other comments, questions?
To enter it with the modification.
Oh, yes,
as-
I'm sorry. Would the motion maker consider adding to the motion the staff request for condition 9 approval to be read as was previously discussed? And it's been expressed to us in this document.
Yes.
Is that good enough, staff? Do you want us to read the whole thing into the record? We will have you accept it as it has been distributed to us for the meeting. Is that adequate, Sarah? Okay. So we have a motion and we have a second. Is there any other discussion, questions, comments about this project? If not, before we do vote, I would like to say what an outstanding proposal this is and what a wonderful addition to our downtown urban environment the Omni Tempe Hotel would be at ASU. All those in favor of the motion as stated, please signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed, same sign, and the motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much. I believe, except for a couple of housekeeping items, which we will get into now, as soon as I find the agenda. We have announcements and miscellaneous items. Are there any announcements or other items of interest that members of the committee wish to share this evening? Seeing none, staff announcements.
Nothing at this time, Madam Chair, but if there is a meeting in April, we will inform you 3 weeks three weeks in advance.
And at present, that meeting would be slated for the second
First Wednesday of
what's
the
today?
month.
Yeah, the first Wednesday, which would be April
April 3rd.
April 3rd. We will be on standby. Thank you, and if there's nothing else for the good of the order, this meeting is adjourned.